Okay, hi everyone, we've got something a little bit different for you today. You might notice I'm sitting down at a table with a guest for a change, rather than just me giving you exercises through the camera. I'm here with a friend of mine, Sal Jefferies, who we've known each other for a couple of years now, I think, and our paths kind of crossed a couple of places where we were working. Sal's a yoga instructor, obviously I'm a Tai Chi instructor, we've worked at some similar places, and whenever we get together we always have really interesting conversations, and last time we were having one we thought actually we should be recording this, so here we are, we're recording our conversation. Now Sal, you've got a background in yoga and you've had a very interesting few years where your practice has developed and deepened and you've gone into lots of other different areas, so do you want to just introduce yourself?
Absolutely, yeah, thanks man. So hi, welcome, my name's Sal Jefferies, and as Mark said, we've been friends for a while. And we often have these great conversations around the different disciplines of yoga and martial arts. And in the last, sort of 4 or 5 years, I've been developing not just my yoga practice, but the mindset practice, mindset coaching. So how we function as a person, how our mind functions, how things are as a person. So using psychology, using the dynamics and body work from yoga, a lot of emotional regulation from how do we breathe, how do we show up in the world. That's such a key skill. We know about this, of course, and bringing that into performance and mindset coaching, performance coaching. So that's what we've been working on. That's more my work now, is mindset coaching, performance for the person, but always bringing in that element of yoga, body work, understanding how you are, as a person, as you're feeling and thinking. So it's a very inclusive way of working. And I would actually say it's kind of a mix of East and West, a fusion, East and West. And what's lovely is best of both worlds. Absolutely, yeah.
So you've almost kind of started with the outside, the external, and gone internal. Started with the physical practice of yoga and gone internal, working on the mind, which is where martial arts take you a lot of the time. You start off, punch, kick, and I did that for years, kickboxing, and then kung fu, where you go a bit more internal, and then developing a Tai Chi practice, a meditation practice.
Yes.
You kind of start on the outside and go in, which seems to be
very much so. Yeah, that's my experience too. Certainly, as from the yoga teaching perspective, you work with yoga, movement and posture and strength and balance and those sorts of dynamics. But you have to use a lot of attention and focus your mind to do that. So on one level, it's a body thing, which most of us think we're starting with, but actually it's about focusing one's mind and bringing attention to the present. The great masters knew this, of course, in the different disciplines from the East, about train the body, it will be the first place to train the mind. So that's what I'm seeing. I would add that in our current world of neuroscience and psychology and what we know in today's world, there's a great opportunity to go next level with this stuff. So work with the body, work with the understanding of what we know, how our body system works and how it affects our mind, and then to take that forwards in life, whether that's performance coaching, you want to be better in your job, better in your sport, whether that's simply mindset coaching, like you want to have a richer life, but it's how you see life rather than how much money's in your bank account. And that can be a big way to bring these disciplines in of East and West, body work, controlling one's state, and then using our more, what I call the Western model of science. How does the mind work? How does the brain work? And can we harness that? And we can.
And I don't think it has to be something esoteric like yoga or Tai Chi, does it? 'Cause I mean, we both have an interest in the things like CrossFit and weightlifting, kettlebells, and for me, kickboxing as well. And I think a lot of people think to meditate, you have to sit on your cushion or sit on your yoga mat or do some qigong and meditate near a tree outside or something. But actually, one of the best forms of meditation, I always think, for me, is weightlifting. Especially if I've got a big weight above my head. If we're thinking of meditation as focusing the mind, I'm never more focused than when I've got 30, 40, 50 kilograms up there trying not to drop it.
Couldn't agree more.
So for me, that's definitely something that aids my meditation. Do you find the same with CrossFit?
I do. As a yoga teacher, there's often a lot of cliches, that one is very calm and quiet and sits, as you say, or under the tree meditating all day. Well, that's nice, and sometimes that happens, but the reality is this is the modern world. This is a modern world with technology and challenges and stresses like everyone else gets. But a good, perhaps modern day yogi has more skills, more abilities to not only be able to be calm and mindful sometimes, but to handle challenges and stresses and the normal run of life. That's life. Life isn't about sitting on the mountaintop doing nothing. For me, life's about how do you live in the real world that you live in and occupy that in an optimum state. So in a way, it's about not just changing consciousness from, you know, stress and challenge to more zen, more calm and meditative. It's about kind of, I guess, up-leveling how you see the world, so that you can have a stressful environment and you can both handle it and understand that you're part of a bigger thing. So I know that does sound a little esoteric. So coming back to the original question, yoga teacher who does CrossFit is the question mark I get. It's like I do CrossFit and I do a lot of CrossFit. I do 5 days a week CrossFit. So Olympic weightlifting, gymnastics, a lot of hard drills. And what I really like...
And I have to say, Sal has just done his first muscle up.
Yes.
Which, if you don't know, you start at the bottom of a pull-up bar, you pull yourself up and then push yourself above the bar. So
yeah, it's pretty hard. It's really hard and it's been a big challenge. What I do like is to put myself in the place of beginner's mindset. So I'm pretty good at yoga. You know, you practice a long time, more than a decade or so, you get really good at it. But then going to do Olympic weightlifting, I'm not very good at all. So I'm at the beginning of that journey. And it can be quite humbling, you know, when you're an expert or really good in one field, to become the beginner and the person who just can't do it in another field.
I love it,
It's called growth, isn't it? Yeah, and that's where we grow. Most of us like our little comfort zone. Yeah, I'm really good at, I don't know, I'm really good at this job, I'm really good at this thing. And we don't step out.
And I think when you teach, you can sometimes be so absorbed with the Tai Chi or the yoga or whatever you're teaching, and you are the top of the tree in your club or your organisation. You have to consciously take a step to go and start something like CrossFit.
Yeah.
Or I've started learning a language recently, or, you know, just to go and do something as a beginner. It's such a refreshing thing to do.
Indeed.
It's
great,
great,
absolutely.
It enriches all of your practices, I think.
It does, and you know, on several levels. Certainly, I find it's maybe more in the male sphere, the male domain, that it can be tough for a person of a certain age, a certain kind of caliber, to become the newbie. And which is what I've done with CrossFit. You know, I've gone from being really good at one discipline, gone to being...
What was that? Because, you know, you do walk into a lot of places, and, you know, you see it in some classes, you go there and people might, especially stereotype, but with CrossFit or some martial arts class, people might have a bit of a chip on the shoulder, and you go, how did you find it going in as the yogi to CrossFit?
I got some raised eyebrows for sure, definitely, and there was a few. My coach is a great guy, lovely guy, and he kind of sort of looks at me quizzically to start with, but he's a brilliant guy and he really knows and understands many disciplines, and he's been excellent to help me kind of develop. What I would say is actually sometimes it's been the yoga people that have found it more challenging. You know, the sort of concept of yoga that CrossFit's a competitive issue.
Yeah.
Well, as I said, my personal experience of life and yoga is about, for me, living well, having a heightened level of understanding, continuous growth. It isn't necessarily about being super calm all the time, because things happen, you know, shit happens and you got to deal with it. And in some ways, weightlifting, as you've already described, working flat out until you really are almost sick, you know, that's another level of human potential. In my mind, it's a way of yoga. It's understanding a bigger sphere, but in a limited description of yoga, it might seem different. So I think most people, when you explain it, get it. I think when you explain your rationale and your comprehension behind it, they get it. Whereas
if you approach it with the right mindset, you're just using a different tool to try and get to the same result.
Absolutely.
Really? So we spoke about it before. Whatever you do, whether it's your CrossFit or yoga or qigong or tai chi or meditation, that's your. It could be fishing. It could be ultra marathon running. It could be
racing cars. Is something.
Today we've got the London to Brighton bike ride. It could be that. Whatever it is, that's your vehicle to then, you know, you can. Then from there, you know, go onto the deeper stuff in the mind. Do you find that people that you do your mindset work with, do they have a physical practice, or are they coming to you without doing anything like sports or activities or martial arts? Is that something they lack when they come to you?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So a lot of the people I coach are professionals, so they either run a business or they're quite high level, and how they are affects the business. So we normally introduce somehow through contact, and they know that I can help them become a better version of themselves or overcome a challenge they can't figure out. But you're right, a lot of people come and they're not that aware of the body, they're not aware of a physical discipline. Some are into the fitness, and what I found is some of the clients have almost just forgotten. They've forgotten to maybe find a really interesting exercise discipline, whether it's yoga or CrossFit or martial arts, and just go out and do them. So one of the elements of my coaching is we do something.
Yeah.
We go do something physical, whether I do it with them or whether I help them find a piece to support them. But absolutely, something to go along with it. It's a must.
I guess a lot of the people, professional people, they'll come to you, and anybody can have a very busy lifestyle. You know, they might be, it could be looking after kids all day, dropping kids off to school, running around here, whenever. It could be going up to London and commuting, and then coming back. The trains are late, they're not back, so it's difficult to. And I think a lot of people, and I see it in my own practice, they think they need to set, I don't know, I'm going to set an hour a day aside to do my Tai Chi. I'm going to set half an hour to go CrossFit training. I'm going to set 45 minutes and I'll do yoga. And when you set these things, it's really, really difficult to keep up with them. And then you don't do it, and you fail, and you think, oh, I'll never do this, and then it's just the walls come crumbling down, and you're kind of back to square one again. But one thing I like to do, and I always say when people start doing Tai Chi with me, they ask me how often they should practice, and I say, well, just try and integrate it into your everyday life. And I always say, every time you make a cup of tea, put the kettle on, do your first Tai Chi move. And then, I don't know, maybe when you're cleaning your teeth, do it standing on one leg, or there's a few different postures, strength postures that we practice in the arts that I teach. Low horse stance, where you're holding yourself like this, and you do a similar yoga position. So these key exercises, you don't need to warm up to do them. You don't need any preparation, as long as you can move your legs and arms a little bit. So I tend to think that integrating things into your daily routine is definitely the way to go, and I think it's what a lot of people miss, and why a lot of people actually fail to have a good exercise or training practice. Now, even to the point, if you are a busy commuter, put one of the White Crane Online meditations into your ears, Headspace or anything. There's loads of really good meditation audio you can use, and you can actually be training anywhere, anytime, any day, can't you?
I completely agree. So for me, and we've spoken about this before, and I love your philosophy on that, and I couldn't agree more. Sometimes if it's more pressure, like, I've got to find another hour in the day to do this, and some people don't have the actual hour, or the hour they're just too tired. So then it becomes more pressure, more challenge, and it's another problem, another thing to do, which is kind of not what improved well-being is about. So I think you're absolutely right. Look, how you show up, in my experience, is so much a part of this. So if you show up with, I must get my CrossFit training down, I've got to go running every week, and it's all a load of stress, well, that's the stress. Your stress response system is probably overloaded anyway, and you need to manage that. So the lifestyle change is awesome. So I guess the question that we can ask ourselves is, do I do martial arts? Do I do CrossFit? Do I do yoga? Or is it part of my lifestyle that I move? Is it part of my lifestyle that I drop in to use a 5-minute meditation on my iPod, kind of anything where I'm on a train or where I've got some time? Because you've always got time. Here's the thing. One of my clients said, same thing. I go to London, I've got this, I've got that. So we deconstructed the whole thing and went, well, London, you've got an hour on the train where you can't do anything other than pay attention to maybe your phone or that. So there's a great piece of time for learning or meditation or something. And then, as you rightly said, people who work in offices, well, they take breaks. And you can do a lot in 5 minutes if you're paying attention. And you can also burn it.
You can do squats in a toilet cubicle. Depends which one you do. I completely agree. Simple stuff. If you work in an office, get out the chair. It's an obvious one. Just maybe stand up and talk on the phone. The other one I've come across with this space is using the stairs. If you're living up and down the stairs, if you might need to go one floor, but if you've got 5 minutes, you want to be well, take it 5 times. Why not? Elevate your heart rate slightly. You'll elevate a whole load of blood chemistry going on. It's a really great way. You don't have to build up a massive sweat every time you do exercise.
No. So it's definitely, I guess we're similar here, in a mindset shift about how do you do it? And who are you? What's your kind of identity around this, rather than another chore, another thing to do, another achievement? Because a way of being is completely different to what you're doing. And that's a really powerful change.
I think another challenge is finding that thing that you like, isn't it?
Definitely.
Because if you like it, if you love it, then you're going to do it. And I use it when I talk to people about getting good at martial arts, and I think you have to find excuses to do it, whereas most people find excuses not to do it. Find that thing you love that you just want to do all the time, and then it's almost like you have to go into but you almost go into autopilot. It sounds a bit boring to talk about your training or your exercise as part of your daily routine. But that's what it is. It's like tie your shoelaces, clean your teeth, do training.
Absolutely, yeah. You know what I think some of this is just about, it's self-awareness. This is all about self-awareness. There's a really big thing on self-awareness here. So, as you said, Mark, if it's, oh God, I've got to go training, I'm a bit tired, it becomes a chore and a heaviness and that. Whereas if you're going training, irrespective of whether you're tired, irrespective of whether you want to or not, because you want to be fitter, you want to be stronger, you want to feel more vibrant. If you're, anything north of 30, then conditioning your body is your pension. We live in a culture now, the world's changed. If you don't get this, then you will. The world's changed. The old 20th century mindset, it's gone. Pensions, retirement, all that sort of stuff. I had a great guru who said to me once, he said, if you want to invest in your pension, invest in your body. Health is wealth. Because if you're healthy, you can run businesses, you can be an expert in your field for a long time, vibrant, excelling very well. If your body is not at optimum condition, if your arm, you're heavy, you're tired, then that affects your bank balance. It does, hard facts.
No, very much so. Just changing track a little bit. I remember last time we spoke about comparing the histories of yoga and martial arts, which I always find quite fascinating. Leaning towards myth, leaning towards legend, where the facts lie. So, just tell me a little bit about the history of yoga.
Okay, so
just a little question thrown out.
Okay, so let me paraphrase that. If I talk about it in the context of how it applies today and kind of how loosely we've got it today, okay, because it's a very, very old tradition which was done in India for millennia by kind of religious people and men only. The big shift in our kind of Western culture that I think it was about 1890, 1893, there was a Swami came from India to America called Vivekananda. He basically just shook the world, and the Western world suddenly got interested in the ancient arts from
where did he go first of all?
America mainly, so it's really big in America, and that was sort of the precipice of change from everything being held in the East to the West being involved in this philosophy and this understanding and this culture. This is a snapshot for sure. Then the next sort of level of change was a wonderful Swami called Krishnamacharya. He essentially sort of is the modern father of the archetype of yoga as we know it. Movement, breathing, asana, the posture work. And he was training some of the key people like Pattabhi Jois, who was Ashtanga. Those who've done the Ashtanga thing, that's his thing. BKS Iyengar, which is a very precise discipline, a very different type of teacher. And they, of course, filtered out and taught other teachers. I think Shivananda was in there, Indra Devi, Desikachar was one of the other ones, Yogi Bhajan was another one who did Kundalini. So they sort of filtered out, and then this infusion of yogis from different ways of doing it, quite different ways as well, started to influence the West. A little caveat, what's interesting as well is that yoga is often misunderstood, like where's asana come from? Some of it's very, very old, but some of it's actually it's thought from really kind of Scandinavian gymnastics that was observed by Krishnamacharya and various other people, and they integrated the movement patterns as part of the disciplining of movement work and asana to condition the body so that you could sit in meditation, so that you can do those sorts of things. Interestingly, coming to modern day, it's really current. I think the 80s is really when yoga's kicked in massively.
I think so.
60s it's like cool people who are pioneers, but we'd call them weirdos and hippies. But they're edge dwellers, they were there. Now it's sort of 80s onwards that it started to gain that real traction in the West, where people would go, normal people, like my mum or something like might go to a yoga class at the church hall. And then what we've seen in the last decade or 20 years is just explosion. It's just people have all sorts of views on this. One of my masters used to say, if someone's doing any yoga, it's better than no yoga, because we know it has benefits. If it's just making you feel better and your body more conditioned, cool. But if it makes you a better, more self-aware person, that becomes a global thing. So I'm all for it, and there are many versions of yoga, from the dynamic to the meditative to the chanting to the spiritual, to the very sporty, just the practical stuff. Any which way, it's an awesome science. Yeah.
So many parallels to the martial arts. There, coming over into the Western world.
I understand a little bit. So perhaps you could just share with me how it came to the West more, because it's been the East for a long time. How it came to the West?
I think a lot of the transition to the West came with Bruce Lee. It became very popular. Yeah. And one interesting thing though, he obviously brought Kung Fu over, but then lots of things like karate and kickboxing exploded. But also I think in the Second World War as well, when you had a lot of, particularly the American soldiers in Japan, in the Far East, they learned styles like karate and some of the kickboxing styles. They learned karate, and then it kind of developed into American kickboxing as well, so there was that link as well. One thing, going back even further, one thing I always like is that the Chinese styles came from India originally. A Buddhist monk called Bodhidharma, the legend says that he travelled to the Shaolin temple in China, and he saw what a terrible state all the monks were in. They're very good at their meditation, but physically they weren't in a very good shape. So the legend has it that he went off to the mountains for 9 years, I think, to meditate on how he could invigorate the monks physically to help, which would eventually help with their meditation as well. And he came back, and what he introduced was the kind of the seeds of the Shaolin Kung Fu style.
Wow.
So I think things come from India, and I think, if you go back, traditional Chinese medicine comes from Ayurvedic medicine, doesn't it? So, that Indian knowledge.
Well, there seems to be a deep thing. I mean, of course, the Buddha, which means the enlightened one, Gautama was his name, if I pronounce that correctly. He originally was an Indian kind of thing. I knew a little bit about this, but so that's sort of the roots of Buddhism, but that originated in India. And interestingly, a little fact you may not know, I studied Advaita Vedanta. Advaita Vedanta means non-duality. It's a piece of knowledge and philosophy that was the end of the Vedic period, so very, very long time ago. And these incredibly forward-thinking people back, thousands of years ago, were having high-level thoughts about life rather than being black and white, male, female, yin and yang, the natural forces of the world. They also saw everything as an inclusive whole, non-duality, another level up. Now, the challenge, I guess, for all of us is how to integrate these wonderful high-level thinkings into our culture, and I guess it's evolution. I guess it's evolution, and it's not about, as I said earlier in our conversation, for me, it's not really about only being zen and never being able to get stressed, because that may or may not be true in the current world. So how can we up level everyone? How can consciousness shift up a gear? How can we become those notches up of a better human being, a better culture? Because we can. Evolution happens. That's the deal. It's a hard fact. So same with anything we knew in the past scientifically. It's done. It's outdated. Consciousness is moving. So we can move with it if we choose to.
Which leads into another point we're going to talk about, which is the breath.
Yes.
If only we all breathe a little bit deeper. Which is it's a good comparison between the practices I teach, Tai Chi and yourself, yoga, because again, end results probably looking for the same thing, but just a slightly different approach.
A different methodology, different techniques.
I get a lot of comments. Obviously, people come to me who practice yoga who talk about the yogic breathing and how it compares to the Tai Chi breathing. As everybody who studies the videos with me know, with the Tai Chi breath, we're going in through the nose, out through the mouth. We call it the circular breath. But I know I've done yoga here and there, and it's quite different. It sounds quite different. It certainly feels quite different. Obviously, I'm quite ingrained with this circular breathing. I kind of struggle a little bit with the yogic breath because it feels a little bit more throaty at times.
Can be.
Bit different types of breathing, I guess. But, and it feels a bit more nasal, whereas in the Tai Chi, it's very much breathing into the dantian or the hara, as it's known in kind of Japan. There are similarities. There is a circular breath in yoga because they're in through nose, out through mouth. One of the thoughts with that from a technical point of view is that the nose has natural inbuilt filtering systems. So it has a filtration system which cleans the air, it protects the ingestion of rubbish coming in. Basically, it's a filter. So when you breathe through your nose,
that filters things like pollen and dust and all things we can't see. Breathe through the mouth, it just comes straight into the lungs.
Yeah.
So you're talking about ingesting possible pathogens and problems. So the nose has that. The out breath going through the mouth also cools the body.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're aware of this. In one particular breathing style I teach as the main is the nasal breath in and out. And as you write,
is that through the same or alternating?
Depends whether you're doing just a breathing practice or if you're doing the movement work. But to keep it simple, just in through the nose, out through the nose. So the big difference with what I see with this is it's easy to regulate a breath from the nose to the belly than it is from the mouth to the belly. And it's very common, as you rightly said, most is only breathing the upper chest. It's quite normal that you're going about your day and it's quite normal. And if you're really observant in the fields we work, you'll see people like, it's here. It's so light. That's a third of your capacity that you're breathing. Now, you're just not trained. It's that simple. It's like a fitness expert is trained in a discipline. They trained. Yeah, we're just not trained to breathe this way.
It's not even on the radar for a lot of people, is it?
No. And curiously, there is some influence by the Victorians for this, because the Victorians didn't like to have big bellies. That's why they wore corsets, interestingly enough, particularly ladies. So one would breathe quite high, and it'd be just light breath.
It's quite symptomatic of what our life's like nowadays, isn't it? It's all up here. It's all up here, all our thinking, TV screens, mobile phones, computers, everything's up here. So
very much.
It's difficult to breathe to here when all your focus is up here in your head, isn't it?
Yes, indeed. Unless you're explained how this works and taught how it works. On a very practical point of view, so when we bring a Western mindset into this one, what we know is when you breathe through the nose, into the belly, out from the belly through the nose, once again, it is this nice, almost like a wave-like movement. What really matters, from the yogis knew this, but the scientists know this now, is that when the diaphragm moves, this is this bit here, goes up and down, lifts the abdominal contents. When you belly breathe, or diaphragmatically breathe, the belly goes up and down, the diaphragm goes up and down. It's literally stroking the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve, without getting overly technical, is one of the key nerves of the body. It runs through almost every organ. It goes up into the brainstem. There are more up fibers from this nerve coming into our brain than brain to body. We now know that the regulation of the vagus nerve regulates the brain. It has an effect on our hormone system. It influences our thinking, but more importantly, it changes our stress response. So we have the two sides. We have the sympathetic branch, which is on. Now we're talking. The chemicals are running, so we're awake and active. The parasympathetic branch is when we're relaxed, we're calmer. The food of the body's digested, cells repair. We're in a much calmer state. What most of us have in the West is an overly trained sympathetic nervous system. Like, we're maxed out all the time. Emails, tweets, phone calls, this, that. Yeah, we're spiked. An analogy I use, it's a bit like we went into the gym and we said, right, we're going to really go for this, and we're just going to train our right arm. Why would you do that? And he has a massive right arm, big muscles, and this skinny little left arm. You wouldn't do it. But because we don't know this stuff, because it's not common knowledge so much, we overtrain our sympathetic nervous system. We get stress, anxiety, health issues, dietary issues, because the way the body doesn't absorb nutrients. So the power of learning to breathe will change your skin, it will change your biochemistry, it will change your body, it will change your mind. Yes. So this is what we know, why this deep breath is so powerful. And it's easier to do with a nasal breath than it is with a mouth breath. So the breath through nose into belly, all the way back out. It's my remote control of the nervous system.
And it's amazing how, in fact, somebody said this to me yesterday. They said when they get stressed, we have this exercise we call earthing the energy. So you breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth as you push your hands down. So as soon as you get stressed, just that, and even just a couple of times, and it's completely changed. And how does that relate into cortisol levels? Obviously, with you relaxing, you're bringing down your cortisol levels.
Really good. So the cortisol levels and adrenaline is with the sympathetic nervous system, the doing. So if you're running around, we've got lots of that stuff going on. The parasympathetic system, the calming, the rest, digest system, you have different hormones. So it deregulates adrenaline, cortisol, changes things, possibly oxytocin and other sort of more calming chemicals. What matters, those of you interested in weight training, that to have more testosterone production, is what one needs, is for muscular growth. If you are stressed, there's some biochemical markers which the adrenaline and cortisol affect the amount of testosterone, basically. So being stressed or overtraining, you will get less muscle growth than if you learn how to control your breath.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about this a little bit, but harnessing strength training, martial arts, yoga, and also how to breathe and calm everything down is absolute. It's the future. Yeah. This is where we're going.
Yeah. You can't be on all the time.
No.
You need to bring it down.
Yeah.
For so many reasons.
Yeah, on so many levels. Yeah.
So we're going to talk about movement as well.
Yes.
And I always get asked all the time, how's Tai Chi different to yoga? What's different? I mean, obviously Tai Chi is a martial art, but just at a very high level, I usually give an explanation of, yoga's quite static stretching, whereas Tai Chi, you've got the fluidity and the movement. Some people like static, some people like fluidity. I think best of both worlds is pretty good. You've got all bases covered then. We do stretch in Tai Chi, but it's not really pulling and stretching the muscles too much. It's more thinking about the fluidity of the joints, strengthening the tendons and the ligaments rather than pulling and stretching on the muscles. We do a bit more of that in the Kung Fu and the kickboxing that I teach, but in Tai Chi it's a bit more about fluidity and mobility. Would you, obviously this goes a little bit deeper than that, but as an overview, would you agree with that?
I think I would. Having a little bit of experience in martial arts myself, doing there's a lot of more fluid movements, there's a lot of whole rhythmic movements, and in yoga it's often more static, it's more linear. There's often a lot more linear movement, a lot of holding. Downward dog as an example, you're holding the posture. For me, I think the sweet spot is both.
Yin and the yang.
Yin and the yang, because you can't have one without the other. The body system is designed to work as one system. We're designed to be able to stretch and to be responsive. Unless you're training an elite athlete for a discipline, then you have to focus on one area. In a normal, optimum human range, you want to be able to be flexible, supple and moving, but you want to be able to hold, you want to be able to lift. I guess the thing with yoga, which unless you practice it, the benefit is stretching. So the tissues of the body get tight, and it's really simple. You've got to get them supple and out. The mobility stuff, the movement stuff will be really good for that, but the deep stretching will go deeper and release. And on bringing my sort of psychological level into this, what we know about stuff in the brain and the body is that the body holds a certain level of intelligence and memory. So things get stuck in the body. If you do movement work and do stretch work, you can literally release the tissues of the body, which has information in it. Fascia, basically, if you want to know the technical stuff. Fascia holds information. Fascial chains, basically the skin, the ligaments, all that stuff, can get released. You can think of it like this. It's a bit like going shopping, and you bought a bunch of stuff, and you didn't take a bag, so you kind of pop something in your arm, and you put it in your pocket, and then
in a shop usually.
I do this, and not putting it down. It's like, it's really simple. You've got it now. You just need to put it down. But on some level, we don't. So the mind-body processing, the martial arts, the yogic arts are implicit in this. Some people come to my yoga class and feel amazing, and we haven't said a word about their personal state. They don't need to, because the body has expressed it, and I'm wondering if you see the same.
Definitely. And people getting emotional and things like that.
Because emotional is a physical thing.
It's interesting. I was talking about the body holding on to issues. I obviously came to see you for a personal issue after my dad had died, and a few things that I was dealing with at that time, and you spoke to me. It was almost like wasn't hypnosis, it was more like a guided meditation, wasn't it, where we spoke about where in my body I felt that tension, I felt that grief, and you helped release it, and that was just one session, and it helped change my mindset totally. So we do hold on to to things within our body.
And I think this is the thing which most of us are now starting to see, is what we think about the mind, so our thoughts and our memories and and our past. It's connected to our emotions, which is embedded in the body. There's the brain is a piece of the body. So the old school 20th century mindset would look at these things as different areas, and in some ways they are different elements, but they're all woven together. I've never met a person who doesn't have a body. Even people I've worked with who are disabled, they have a physical structure. There's some physiology. even if you just have a brain. So the physical and the psychological, the material and the energetic, they're woven together.
And you talk about people without a body. It's interesting because I do shiatsu. I haven't done too much recently, but I remember giving shiatsu to somebody who had a leg amputated, and you could feel the energy down where the amputated leg would have been. And obviously you got things like phantom leg syndrome, but you could actually feel it there. So you're still even holding on to things energetically when there's nothing physical there. It's fascinating.
It is fascinating, isn't it?
It's one of those interesting areas where the West is, with their advanced science, catching up with what the old guys knew thousands and thousands of years ago.
Indeed, yeah. And I'm not in the field of medical science. I'm in the field more of psychological performance and psychological science. But there does seem to be an edge now where the smart people are looking at integration. So energy medicine, how do the cells of the body vibrate, and how do things like sound affect that? Food dynamics, the macrobiota of the gut.
That's huge now, isn't it?
This is, I have a condition which I have to manage my internal system very carefully, and I've done a lot of research on this. And the microbiota of the gut is influenced once again by the vagus nerve. So the breath, the vagus nerve, controlling this, it's systemic. It's one thing working together. And the more we learn, I think, for me, the more I learn, is the richer it all gets. Because sometimes we need to know what the hell we're doing. Why am I breathing through my nose? What's the point doing yoga?
I think they're treating all sorts of conditions with the microbiome of the gut now. I think depression, psychological issues, trauma. Nothing I'm an expert on, but reading about it, it's fascinating. Yeah,
with a lot of things like I think a simple example, serotonin, which is a neurotransmitter. It's when we feel good, which is a brain transmitter. A lot of it's produced in the gut.
Yeah.
And to go another level on this, in the gut we have about 500 million neurons. The estimation is about the same power as a cat's brain. The cat's pretty smart. Okay. So this works on its own and in synchronous with the main brain. Often we call it the second brain. Once again, we're talking about body system, the gut. This is influenced by the breath and movement. It's one system.
There's so many old sayings about the gut, isn't it? Your gut instinct and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, your gut instinct is your technical word, is the enteric nervous system. All the neurons that line the gut are working. They're doing something. In fact, they're reading into the skin receptors. It's all this stuff is now. We're living in an awesome age of understanding and growth about how we function. The human system is awesome.
Absolutely. The system that needs protecting, which leads us on to our next point, which is talking about self-defense.
Indeed, yes,
is one of
brilliant area.
My favourite topics. Obviously, you say you do martial arts. You practice self-defense, and everyone thinks someone's coming to steal your wallet, and you block and you strike, which is great. I love training like that. In fact, I was doing it this morning. It's fantastic. But again, we've spoken about earlier, starting with the physical, like starting with I'm going to grab you, you're going to block and strike. But actually, you can work things a lot deeper than that. And for me, and I've probably spoken about this, I've certainly written about it on the website, self-defense does go deeper than that. And it is literally self-defense against our worst enemy, which these days isn't the next village along from Burgess Hill coming to steal everything from Ardingly, because Sal is from Burgess Hill and he's not raiding anyone's...
technically Burgess Hill, that's where I currently reside.
He's not raiding anyone's homes anyway. But
I try not to.
Our worst enemy really is ourselves, isn't it? And we spoke about this last time we spoke. So self-defense, whether you practice yoga, tai chi, kung fu, whatever, you're protecting yourself against yourself, really, and against all the habits that we have, bad diet, bad posture, not sleeping enough, disease, stress, all of these things. So by having the kind of practices that we teach and promote, Tai Chi, yoga, that is modern day self-defense for me. Yeah,
and I love your description that you've shared that with me before, and it's just so powerful because it's easy to. I've done a little bit of self-defense work last year, where we looked at the body's natural response, the flinch response. Very interesting. I had to harness that to protect yourself from a physical attack, but it goes before that, as you've said. It's about observation, which is awareness. If it's a physical danger, is there something present? But most of the time in our current world, thankfully, we're probably not on defense mode all the time. But we can be on hypervigilance mode, is the techie word, about, oh God, there's this problem, because it becomes very cerebral. Do they think I look silly? is my boss judging me? Does my other half think I look good in this? All those kind of concepts.
Cortisol, fight or flight, goes up and up and up and up and up and stays.
So you're right. The enemy becomes the critic within.
And then what do you do to relax? You look at your screen, which keeps it elevated.
Yeah. So I'm all for. I love our new digital age. You know, I've really embraced it, and I think we've got so much opportunity. But
it's that flip side, isn't it? Everything.
It's about how you use it. You know, I came up with something recent, and it sort of summarised it for me that if you were to drink a lot of alcohol, for instance, let's say you're like a small glass of wine, it's really tasty and it's that's nice. You wouldn't drink 6 bottles of wine. You know, you can just keep knocking it back. You're going to really struggle from that. And same with maybe digital content. You know, like this opportunity we have here, it's amazing. There's so much reach. It's just about balance. It's like, are you doing too much? Are you using it healthily? You know, is it enriching you? Here's the thing. A simple question is for you and for me and for everyone. Ask yourself this: whatever you do, does it drain you or does it sustain you? Does it drain you or does it sustain you? Is it something that lets you learn and feel good? Martial arts, Tai Chi, moving the body, yoga perhaps?
It's a bit like a weight training session. If I do any weight training, say 45 minutes, I leave, I feel great, take on the world. 50 minutes to an hour, I'm leaving.
Too much. Because you're very self-aware because of what you do, and that self-awareness allows you to do a weight training session as a martial artist and not over fatigue and live well. That's why you're in good condition.
Yeah, balance.
Yeah.
And from the body, we lead to the mind.
The mind. Yeah, one of my favourite subjects. Yes.
So we start at the body, we work internally.
So the mind often, when we talk about mind, often what we're describing is our thinking level. So thinking, beliefs are a big one, our values, what matters to us, our concepts, our filters. And you know, a lot of us, you can imagine, like we've all got eyewear, like mental eyewear. We put on our eyewear and we look out and see the world. So all these filters, which could be prejudice, it could be fear, it could be beliefs. You know, beliefs are filters. That classic one I come across is someone believes they can't do something. Yeah. So a coaching client said to me, I don't know if I can set up this new business. It's a big investment. I don't know if I can do it. How could he know? Because he hasn't done it yet. So the belief in the way is about self-doubt, and that is colouring his choice. So what we've been doing is challenging that belief. Is it true? Is it really true? How can you know? And then you go behind the belief. Well, actually, the belief's often protecting something like, am I safe? Yeah. If I make a mistake, if it goes wrong, what's going to happen to me? Will I be able to handle it?
Yeah, sometimes.
You know, here's a lovely one. You'll love this. I can't remember if I've shared this, but my metaphor or analogy of fear is a bodyguard. Yeah, fear is a bodyguard. One of those awesome close protection dudes who are in front of you, dark eyewear on, black suit. They aren't there to protect you. They're only needed very occasionally, but they're always there. But you wouldn't have the bodyguard do executive decisions like choosing your next partner. What job do you do? Do you make an investment? Because the bodyguard's there to protect you. It is not there to do intelligent decision making. So realising fear is nothing wrong with fear, and the bodyguard system is designed to be there. It's to keep you safe. So you need a just deep self-awareness to go, if the worst happens, how will I be? So for instance, if you have a relationship breakup, you know, if the worst happens and you break up, well, you'll probably be okay, you know. If you lose your job and you suddenly don't have any money coming in, well, maybe you'd have to sell your house and figure out a new way of being. You know, we're more resilient than we believe. Usually
a couple of years down the line or a year down the line, you look back and think, wow, I've grown since that time.
But of course, the spectre of fear is so big, is that it can keep you like, I can't, set up my business I want to do, or I can't go into a gym because I'm overweight, or I can't do Tai Chi because I've never done it, or I'm a man and I couldn't do yoga because men, or any of these silly kind of concepts. And they're just concepts, You know, the thing about thoughts is they're abstract. You can't weigh a thought. You can't hold it, but it will hold you.
It can weigh you down.
It can weigh you down, it can hold you. So, you know, this is where self-awareness comes from. The great from these starts about becoming self-aware about your limitations and your mindset. And change your mindset, you change your world.
Yeah.
Literally.
I mean, not so much in the Tai Chi, but in the Kung Fu that I teach, the first Kung Fu form, It's called 3 wars, and the 3 wars are the mind, the body, and the breath, which is what we've spoken about today. The 3 things that you need to, the 3 key things that you need to get under control. So, you know, of equal importance. You know, you control those things. You elevate your spirit. You enrich your spirit. You enrich your life. You know.
And isn't that just beautiful that it's so old? The martial arts tradition is so ancient. It's got so long. You know, this stuff isn't brand new science. This stuff is old technology, but we now understand even more about it. And I think what's happened is we've often forgotten. And you know, luckily those of us working in the field are here to remind.
Fascinating putting it all together.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah. I think we've done it.
I think we have.
We've done our first podcast. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's been brilliant. Thank you.
Hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave us some comments, and we'll be back for more.